Hello out there. Oh boy, what have I gotten myself into this time? Hello and welcome to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. My name is Eric Herlock, and today's show, as you may have noticed, is happening live here at the 2019 Pennsylvania Hemp Summit at the Lancaster Convention Center. Thank you all for being here. I'm doing the show just like I do it at home. I wrote everything out first. So, I am the digital editor at Lancaster Farming newspaper, which, as some of you may know, is sort of like the connective tissue of the agricultural community, all right? Maybe for some of you who don't know, let me tell you a little bit about it. We've been serving the farming community since 1955 in Lancaster, throughout the state of Pennsylvania, basically the whole East Coast. We provide farming news and information, market reports, classified ads, recipes, you name it, you can find it in the Lancaster Farming newspaper. So over the years, our newspaper has become, like I said, the connective tissue of the farming community, and this podcast follows in that tradition by providing farmers the information that they can use, just in a slightly different form. This podcast for me has been what I imagine the hemp industry has been for a lot of you folks out there, where you started, you didn't know what you were doing, you asked a lot of questions, and here we are. So, in the summer of 2018, I said to my editor, Steve Sieber, hey, let's do a podcast about industrial hemp. And he was like, what? About what? Maybe that's an oversimplification, but basically Steve said yes and then got out of the way, and I've been making this podcast ever since, and we've had some success. And I measure success of this thing by the emails and phone calls I get from farmers who tell me how much they appreciate what we're doing, how much they're learning from the information that we've been sharing. And that was my goal, to educate and illuminate. So far, so good. But what brings us together here today is not the podcast. No, it's the hemp plant, the cannabis plant. And we're all here today because we see the value in this plant, or at least we see some version of the value of this plant. For some of you, it's money, market potential, but for others, it's more than money. It's a reimagining of what an industry can be. Maybe a different set of values, a new value system. It's more than money, it's about healing the family farm, healing the environment, healing the human body. You can start that next one. So, whatever it is, the hemp plant is bringing people together. Maybe we don't have all that much in common, but with hemp, we do. You know, it's an ancient plant with a long history, and it's got great potential for a bright future. The weight of the past on one hand balanced with the future potential on the other, and here we are in the middle, right here and right now. Thank you for being here with us. So I'm going to keep this live podcast show pretty short because I know what tonight is about. It's about talking to each other and you sharing information with each other. Because here we are, right here, right now. So, I am incredibly thankful for this opportunity. And like Steve said, this is a harvest party, right? It's a celebration of the first full year of production of industrial hemp in Pennsylvania. So hats off to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture and Team Pennsylvania for putting this all together. But I'd like to introduce my first guests, my only guests, right? some hemp farmers. Tom Culton and Joe Ullman. Come on up here, guys. Come on up here. All right, have a seat. Hello out there. I can barely see you with the lights, but that's all right.
Check.
All right. Good job, guys. Tinbird Shadow, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, stay here. Yeah. All right, here we are with our guests.
Hi,
Joe-
Eric.
Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Joe and Tom. Joe Ullman from Bucks County and Tom Culton from Lancaster County.
Thanks for having us, Eric.
Yeah,
Thank you, Eric.
You are hemp farmers.
We are.
You've both been
Hello
on the
out there. Is everybody paying attention?
So you've been on the show before. I know a little bit about what you do, but tonight I thought we would sort of look ahead into the 2020 season, right? And are there some things that maybe hemp growers need to be thinking about from your point of view? Tom, what do you think about next year?
I'm not thinking about next year.
All right, let's go to Joe then. Joe.
My name's Joe Ullman, and I'm a hemp breeder. I think next year, when everyone starts thinking about seeds, they should be thinking about Tom and I as breeders. I think we both specialize in autoflowering genetics.
Autoflower. Can you tell us what autoflower is? Do you folks know what autoflower is?
Show of hands, anybody know what autoflower is?
No.
Autoflowering genetics,
check
day
this
neutral, day neutral genetics.
Tell us about the autoflower, Joe.
Autoflowering genetics are not dependent on photoperiod, so they're day neutral, and from germination to harvest, they're generally 60 to 80 days, depending on the strains. So it's pretty amazing.
So you could get several crops in a year.
Yes, you can capture multiple harvests in a season, and you can succession plant those if you wanted to.
Are those seeds going to be available next year? Is that going to be on the market?
Yes. Seeds will be available for 2020 season.
Autoflower seeds, yeah?
Auto-flowering seeds produced in Maine, but for the climate in Pennsylvania.
Tom, what's the name of your company?
Our seed company is called the Lancaster County Hemp Seed Company, along with my partner. Shout out to the Stucci, Maine. We have been breeding this year for hopefully next season, mainly autoflowers. But we're breeding for mainly powdery mildew resistance and just all the funky stuff that we're getting here right now, if anybody's getting funky stuff in their fields.
The name of the company that I started is called Atlas Seeds. We specialize in high CBD autoflowering genetics here in the state of Pennsylvania. The breeding currently originated in California, and it's currently still going on there, but we're field testing the trials here this season. And we don't want to release any seed. We didn't release any seed this year here because we want to see how they're growing in this climate before releasing them, so that we can best set the growers up with the most amount of information so they're successful. And then I've gotten a lot of messages in the last couple weeks, and my voicemail, many of you might have heard it. It just says that we're going to release a limited amount of seed on January, end of January, January 30th. I'm going to be looking to vet a small number of growers that are going to have access to the seed next season. Basically taking some baby steps to begin with. I want those growers to be successful and to really lay the groundwork for the 2021 season. The reason behind that is because autoflowering genetics are not for the novice grower. Would you say that, Tom?
Not for the novice. That's correct.
They
Don't try this at home, kids. No.
they basically you need to have some experience under your belt and to not get in the weeds of it too much here, but just basically because it's such a short growing cycle, we'll say 70 days is the most common. Well, roughly 3 to 4 weeks of that is a veg phase, and the remaining 6 weeks is a flowering phase.
What's the output on those? Like a smaller amount than
the harvest per plant is lower. I mean, we're talking 1 to 5 ounces a plant, but the density is greater than an acre of photoperiod.
Your bud to leaf mass is less. We're working on an 85-15 right now. That's just kind of what we're shooting for. Leaves you less work, and plus if you're doing multiple harvests, we want to make sure that you're back in the field quick enough and not fooling around with trimming the last crop.
All right. How about this year? What were your challenges this year? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Growing in Maine and testing in Maine, and then bringing our genetics from last year here and disseminating them out through different farmers to grow, and just for us to follow our progress through different farmers here. All our seeds only going to be available in Pennsylvania. I want to stress that. We're not outsourcing our seed, and none of our seed is going to be patented. It's all going to be open source. I just want everybody to know that, so you can take our genetics and do whatever you want with them.
So would you say it's important to know your seed breeder?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Why is that? Expand on that, please.
Well, since you're going to ask that poignant question, not a lot of times in this world we live in are we connected with someone who is producing our food, but now someone is actually producing the roots of your medicine. So we are actually holding the keys, and whatever we feel like we want to, whatever direction we want to push, mainly we're just pushing for an equal kind of expression in our genetics, so we want a 1-to-1, and that's what we're shooting for in the future. But we're not allowed to sell that here yet. But as soon as the laws change in Pennsylvania, we'll be bringing THC varieties to Pennsylvania as well. But that has to stay in Maine for now.
Okay. Woo! Joe, anything to add to that?
What was the question?
I'm not sure what the question was, but let's ask a new question. Challenges from this past year.
Challenges. Getting the seed from the production spots in California here, it was delayed a little bit. Doing the field runs. The weather's been generally pretty good, I would say. Disease pressure has been relatively low. This rain that we're having right now is actually really good. It's going to really put some pressure, hopefully, to test disease resistance in some of the cultivars. Atlas has 5 strains currently that are fully auto that we're working through. Like breeding is never, a breeder's job is never done. We're constantly working to improve the strain through each generation. So, I think Tom and I both are working with genomics companies that are helping us focus that using modern breeding technology that all the other agronomic crops that you grow has already had that science applied to it to get the uniformity. I think it's safe to say that this hemp industry is not very uniform, and it's just a reality of where we're at, and we're trying to hone that down because we want uniformity, at least in our genetics. Atlas does,
I'm just looking for accountability within this whole seed thing. I want you to be able to come to me and say, hey, this didn't work out the way I wanted to. I tested hot, or I got some funky, weird mold like really early or something. And I want to be able to like bring that accountability into an industry where we didn't historically have that. So I think that'd be kind of cool for, me to take or like for any of us that are interested in seeds to take the love of like maybe our vegetable seed breeding and move it into this whole cannabis sector, and that way we can bring some accountability to this whole thing, because right now I'm hearing a lot of funky stories, and I'd like to kind of nip that in the butt so we can kind of move on with this industry and not like drag our feet.
When you talk to other growers, what kinds of questions do they have for you, Joe?
Growers are this is the first year that a lot of growers, I mean, in reality, like
Yield.
yeah, right, yield. They always want to know yield for sure. And Eric, do you mean specifically for my genetics, or in general, like for the season that they're at right now? Because I'm getting a lot.
However you want to answer that.
I'm getting a lot of phone calls about like, how do I dry this? How do I harvest it? Who do I sell it to? And it's funny because like there's probably a lot of you right now that have plants in the field that haven't grown before, and you've bitten off a big chunk. It's like your first grow is 10 acres. It's like holy moly, that's a lot to begin with. But my hat goes off to you for sure, But I can't stress enough that less is more. Higher quality and lower quantity is going to save your butts more often than not, and that's coming from somebody with 10 years experience in the industry. I think we're kind of in the vanity phase right now in this industry where people are, you hear, oh, I got 25 acres, I got 50 acres, I got 100 acres, I got 200 acres. That's great, but like as a lot of you are learning how do you, it's not an easy industry to scale. And it's not impossible by any means, but it is very much, a lot can go wrong from the field to getting the money in your bank account.
All you first-timers out there, I just want you to know, this year was we got lucky.
You mean weather-wise?
Absolutely.
Yes.
This was prime weather in central Pennsylvania. If you were growing here, I'm saying here in Lancaster County, it was prime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Prime for cannabis, I'm saying.
We might not be so fortunate most years, but that's where breeding cultivars that are resistant to mold, and so one aspect of a cultivar that would be resistant to mold would be a looser bud structure. Okay, now that might not lend itself to the smokable market. I know everybody out here is really interested in the smokable market, and that's understandable because the returns are 4 or 5x higher, and that's good. So, extraction markets are baseline, smokable markets are top line.
So I hear people talk about the CBD bubble, right? How long do you think the CBD bubble is going to last? Or is it even a real thing?
Just from a breeder's standpoint, I think I'm kind of working past it. I'm working with other variants within the plant, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not really pushing heavy, high CBD content. I'm looking for other things.
Fair enough.
So maybe the bubble has burst in my head. I don't know.
The bubble, I mean, couple years.
Yeah.
2 to 5 years.
But then do you think the fiber seed industry will...
Are you talking about here in America?
Yeah, here in America.
3 years.
3, yeah. Okay.
We move quicker than the rest of the world.
So, you two did not know each other until this podcast thing happened, right?
Not at all. You brought us together, Eric.
Yes, you did, Eric.
Right. Well, I'm glad I could do it. These guys. Well, thank you for your time. Joe Ullman, Tom Culton, thank you for being on our live podcast episode.
Shameless self-promotion if you're looking for us. Follow us on Instagram.
Some affirmation.
AtlasSeed.com. Check us out.
Shout
Thanks,
out to
guys.
everybody up on Harry's Hill in Maine.
So I would like to take a moment to introduce the band. Tinbird Shadow, got Brad Hinton, Josh Scarman on the bass. Oh, sorry, Brad's playing the guitar. Daniel Bauer on the drums, and over here, Mike Borowski on the keyboard. Tinbird Shadow. So the music tonight was made possible by the generosity of Floyd's of Leadville, makers of fine CBD products and who this year have been working with local Pennsylvania farmers to grow some of the finest organic hemp around. Floyd's of Leadville, thank you to Floyd's. Also, tonight, the music is brought to you by the generosity of the Pennsylvania Hemp Industry Council. They've been working to bring hemp back to the Keystone State for many, many years. They're a great resource for hemp farmers and processors and manufacturers, and it would behoove all of you to become members of the Pennsylvania Hemp Industry Council. So a great big thank you to Floyd's of Leadville and the Pennsylvania Hemp Industry Council, and also a shout out to our other great sponsors tonight, Kimberton Whole Foods and Pocono Organics. Thank you. And also thanks again to the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture and Team Pennsylvania. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the podcast portion of this, but stick around because we're going to have a question and answer period down here. So if you have questions that you want to ask other people in the industry, let's all gather down here and we'll talk to each other. Don't forget to tip your servers, and I think the band is accepting tips too. So I'd also like to thank Sanco, Mike Santarelli, for his help with the sound tonight, and also the great people here helping us with all of this. So, that's it. My name is Eric Herlock, and until next time, I'll see you in the newspaper. This episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2019 by Lancaster Farming, which is part of the Steinman Communications family. Today's show was written, recorded, edited, and produced by Eric Herlock with some additional recording help from Mike Santarelli from Sanco Sound and Light. The music is courtesy of Tinbird Shadow and was generously brought to you in this live episode by Floyd's of Leadville and the Pennsylvania Hemp Industry Council.
industrial hemp.